All for one.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of All for One's podcast on, yes, our new channel, All for One TV. We are no longer on the Manifest Records channel. We have our own channel called All for One TV, so check that out. Subscribe and smash that bell so that way you can get all the early subscriptions and content and media and yada yada yada. So our first topic in this, well, not even our first topic. The first category we're going to go with is media, and the subject in the media we are going with is cartoons and comics, manga, anime, all that. We're going to talk about all that today, and if it should be geared more towards children, should it be made for everyone, if adults should just leave it alone in general. We're going to talk about all of that in this episode. We'll have a theme song eventually.
Yeah. All right. Forgive Cruz's absence today. He won't be joining us. So we will update you guys on part 3 of the greatest rappers of all time. But we won't do that without Cruz.
Yeah. We miss you, bro.
We miss you. Shout outs to Catastrophe Cruz. All right.
Yeah.
So, what's the first category again?
So kids cartoons. Actually, just that in general. Cartoons, comics, anime. Should they be geared more towards kids? Should they be for everyone? Or should adults just leave it alone? That's the topic for today.
I feel like our generation, like once we got a taste of nostalgia, we wanted way more. I forgot when exactly it started, but I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit out of hand with us wanting everything to be exactly, how it should be, dictating it. Like I'm a WWE fan, for instance, and there's grown men with their own YouTube channels and stuff out there dictating to Vince McMahon how the show can go to look more realistic. I'm like, dude, number 1, wrestling's fake. Everyone knows.
We know this.
Number 2, it's scripted. Everyone knows. And number 3, when you were a kid, they're grown adults ruining it for you?
There probably were some trying to.
Maybe, but I never heard them.
We were kids in like elementary school. We wouldn't have known that.
My whole thing is some of us are way too old. Like, just calm down. If you want the original, go back. There's many sources to view the original Pokemon, for instance. The original Dragon Ball Z, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to have a remake of I feel like remakes are taking over the world as well.
I agree and I disagree. One thing, my nostalgia, some nostalgia can ruin things, but like certain things are just bad. Like I'm big on storytelling. As an adult, when I watch a movie or a cartoon series and I look at it, I'm just like, yo, this is terrible. This is like, or if I go back and look at cartoons I loved as a kid and I watch it and I'm just like Voltron. Everybody remember Voltron.
Yeah.
I look at that, I'm like, why was this show so bad?
Or like Doug. You remember Doug on Nickelodeon?
Doug,
I do, but then I went back and watched it and I'm like, oh, this is just so boring.
But the thing is, it got better when it got sold to Disney. And then people will argue me on that. Doug did get better when it got bought out by Disney, but people will disagree with that all day, everything. I'm just like, whatever.
I felt like the stories there wasn't that much, quiet walking around as much as it was in the beginning, or like him in his own head all the time, and I'm like, this is so dumb.
But the thing is, a lot of those cartoons at that time showed realistically what a lot of kids were going through in that day and age.
But do you need a remake of Doug right here, right now?
Right now, no, I do not need a reboot.
Now, if they came out with a reboot, what would your reaction be?
It depends. I have to at least see the first episode.
Why do you even have to have a reaction? Number one, it should be for kids because it was for kids.
But made by adults.
Yes,
because it was, and it's no matter what, cartoons are still.
Yeah, but kids can't make cartoons.
Exactly. That's why all cartoons, anime, manga.
So you're saying
comics,
that they were made by adults for
adults.
No.
But why do you think that most cartoons, most anime, all of that, even the ones made for kid, always have double meanings?
Anime is different than American. I'm talking
it's not.
American cartoons.
It's the same.
American cartoons is different.
They create them and gear them in different ways, but they're still the same.
Here's the thing: certain ones are geared towards certain age groups. I give you that. Like
Yeah.
Total Drama Island.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be only for preteens and I believe teenagers.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mhm.
But that's supposed to only be for them. So growing up, my sister loved that show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that really fit everything that she was going through. And then they had The Simpsons, which obviously is for adults
Exactly.
and young adults.
Okay.
And then they got South Park, obviously for adults.
Yeah.
I don't think young adults are mature enough to handle that kind of content.
But the thing is, here's my argument with it. When it comes down to, for example, we'll use SpongeBob.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say most parents, but there are a lot of parents who won't let their kids watch SpongeBob
My
or
wife included.
the Fairly Odd Parents and stuff like that, because even though, yes, it is specifically made for a child, no matter what, when you're coming up with these ideas and stuff, it's coming from an adult mind. It's automatically going to be geared towards an adult, but just dumbed down so a child will not understand
Right.
the double meaning.
Right. But my whole thing is, like, why do we keep doing this? Why do we, we're, like, now that I have a daughter, I'm seeing less and less child content coming out, more and more. Like, Beauty and the Beast, for instance, I felt like it shouldn't have, like, there should have been more quirkiness to it. They made, Gaston's little sidekick, LeFou, be like really good. But when you watch like the cartoon,
It's
he
accurate.
was dumb suspect.
Yeah, it was super accurate.
It was super accurate. But my whole thing is, why do we need that in kids' movies? They don't need that.
They don't, and I do agree with you with certain things, but also it depends on the child. For example, you do have child cartoon. So from 1 to 4, let's just use that age group.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching what is the stuff that comes on Disney?
Doc McStuffins.
Yeah, they're watching stuff, teaching them how to learn.
PJ Masks.
But when they get out of that age range, when they can understand a story, most of them, especially in today's age, they want a real story. A kid will go to the movies and be like, "This was a dumb story."
What kid?
Kids nowadays, I ain't gonna lie, I went and I seen Power Rangers when they came out. Nostalgia factor. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to see what the new Power Rangers was gonna be in the movies. There were kids coming out was just like, yo, the story was mad dumb. It made no sense.
Was it dumb to you?
Huh? Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it like I loved it for the nostalgia reasons.
But guess what? I never went out to see the Power Rangers, even though I watched the Power Rangers as a kid and loved them as a kid. But guess what? I was a kid. That's why I left that where it was. And I was like, I know, number one, they're not going to make it the same way that I would love them to. So I'm just going to leave that alone.
But see, here's the thing. At least for me, I am good with remakes as long as it's done good. For example,
I feel like
Iron
it's
Man.
lazy.
I can't see, like I said, Iron Man. Iron Man I don't think Iron Man has had a prior adaptation. And if it did, we all know it was not good.
Right.
That's
why we have what we have today.
Yeah, but I'm like 99% sure Iron Man had an adaptation. And when it was brought to the big screen, it was done so well, story-wise, CGI-wise, acting-wise, everything about it was like, yo, this is Iron Man. I got to see Iron Man on the big screen, especially if it's
Actually,
your
the
favorite
movies
superhero.
made me like care about Iron Man because before that, I really didn't.
Exactly. The cartoon shows about Iron Man were boring. I hated Iron Man because of the cartoon shows.
I ain't gonna lie. You know, I mean, some stuff like that, it you know, it's cool. And then my daughter loves the Trolls movie, right?
Yeah.
They made the Trolls way cuter than the actual troll dolls, because that's what they're supposed to be based off of. And, you know, but stuff like that, I think that's cool. That never had an original story either. Iron Man, like I said, that really, you know, I can see why they did it for the adults, but I feel like it's too much. Like, it's a little bit overkill now.
How?
It's everywhere. Like, almost all movies are like superhero. I'm not really even into superheroes. Like, give me something else.
But that's
please.
because you don't like superheroes. For me, who loves superheroes, I'm like, yes!
Oh
Like,
my
dude,
God.
when Man of Steel came out, you know, I'm just like, I've seen all the Superman movies that predated it, and I was just like, yo, these Superman movies were so corny. When they rebooted Superman and they made him Superman, like the legitimate him flying and just the S on the chest and everything, I was just like, now that is Superman. And I was just like, yeah. Or when The Dark Knight Rises and with Batman, I was just like, yo.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. When Christian Bale started playing Batman, I was like, oh, now I care.
Yeah, exactly, because it was good. And the thing is, I'm not saying all superhero movies and all cartoons and stuff like that are good or should be made, but the good ones should, if it has a compelling story, I mean a good story. Not like, also, people are going to hate me for this, but the first Deadpool movie, I enjoyed it. It was like the comics, it had a compelling story. I didn't really like Deadpool 2 because not only was it the same as Deadpool 1, you know, unless you were a comic book nerd, you did not get any of the jokes. You know, you had to really know the comics for them to
I feel like
understand
that's
that.
good, though.
Not
They're
all the
staying
time.
true to their core fan base. Because we don't get a lot of, like, people, like, slaughtered the Lord of the Rings. You know, I mean, I'm talking purists. I
Yeah.
love the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
I love the books.
But you got.
But I'm not like one of those guys who knows the language, the elven language that they came up with, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
But the thing is too, we have to understand. For example, you know, like we're definitely in media now. So say, you know, years later, we do get to the point where we are creating comics and TV shows and stuff like that. As us as the creators, I dare somebody to come up to me and be like, listen, in the comic you wrote it like this, but in the show it went like this. You need to fix. No, I'm the creator.
that's my thing.
You know.
And not only that, that doesn't come from kids. Usually, it comes from grown like men who live on their mom's couch. Like,
And don't get, there are some kids that are like that are so enveloped into a specific, like there are kids that know Harry Potter inside and out. And when they went to the movies, they left disappointed. And I'm not a Harry Potter fan at all, but I've heard stories where they came out disappointed because they were just like, this spell is supposed to do it like this and the movie did it like that,
yeah.
and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, listen, kiddo, the creator of the book that you read signed off on
yes,
this.
and not only that, she did do some work like side by side as they were like
Yeah,
filming.
she was there because you know what? Especially when it comes to like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, those books are between like 500 and 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
That's basically a 3 to 6 hour movie.
Yeah.
You gotta cut that down.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings, you definitely had to cut down. Now everybody talks about, you know, what, I'm not even gonna touch on that because there's so much with Lord of the Rings. But so the my daughter and I were watching Beauty and the Beast. My daughter and I and my wife. Very good movie. I had to come in with a mindset of this is not going to be exactly like the cartoon. So, you know, just throw that in the garbage. Throw the cartoon out of the way and kind of prepare yourself for it. And I enjoyed it. It was lovely. It was awesome. I wish I would have done that with The Avatar, The Last Airbender.
No, that was just a terrible movie.
Listen.
Even if I would, Because I've done that. It's the same thing when we talked about music, and I went in there tried to go in with an unbiased opinion.
Right.
You know, I tried to do that with Avatar, The Last Airbender. That was just a terrible movie. Just the same thing with Dragon Ball Evolution. That was just a terrible,
and that's why I'm so
movie.
against the remakes nowadays. Because I'm like, stop putting us in positions, especially with Death Note. I feel like I was at my wits' end with Death Note.
See, with that, I never watched it, but with that, this is the thing. If it was called something other than Death Note,
right,
it would have been a great movie.
Yep.
And that was the problem, because it was the Americanized. It was not only an Americanized adaptation. They took no source material. They wanted to do their very own version of that, and
as if the original wasn't good enough and didn't make mega buku millions.
But the thing is, they tried to do something similar. I don't know if this was what's going on in their head, but Power Rangers. You know, Power Rangers isn't the original. You know, it's based off of Super Sentai. Super Sentai is Power Rangers. It's the Japanese version.
Oh, I did not know that. I wasn't alive long enough to know that.
No, like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was based off of Super Sentai. What they did was they used all the fighting scenes from when they got the license. They used all the fighting scenes, but just put in scenes where they're acting and just did the voiceovers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, half of the show was filmed in Japan. It was just clips from the original show. You know, that's why certain things did not look that good.
Well, yeah. I mean, but at the same time, when I was a kid, I loved it, and I didn't actually. I laughed, you know, when the fighting scenes came up. But it showed us, number one, as kids, it showed us not to be like that rough and not to hurt each other.
Yeah.
You know, but just enough so that we kind of like fall back like they did.
Yeah.
You know,
just like
yeah, like fake falls and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was super corny.
It was so corny, but at the same time, it was like fighting but not fighting.
Yeah, and it also taught a message. You know, at the end of every episode, they always told kids, like, listen, these things can hurt you.
Right.
We're doing this to protect people. You should only do this when protecting someone. You know, just don't go up and punch somebody in the face.
Hey, they could have learned a lesson from the WWE on how to make it look real.
They could have. Yeah. But again, like I said, they didn't have the technology back then, so they were just cutting and pasting from the old Japanese shows.
But my whole thing still is, you know, I don't know, maybe you guys in the comments can settle this for us. Should our generation let our childhood go and grow up? And you know, because we're in this Neverland space where we want to just, you know.
Well, it's not necessarily Neverland. I disagree with that, because, for example, I loved Voltron.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I grew up and seen the original one, I was just like, this show sucks.
Right.
Bad. You know, what about it was good. But when they remade it, you know, for Netflix, it was made for kids with adult themes, but adult themes such as, you know, doing what's right. You know, fighting for what you believe in. Something kind of like a Naruto. You know, you don't give up. You know, you always work together. You know, and it had a true storyline. It didn't just have the monster of the week.
You know, I feel like if something's awesome enough, you can pick it up. But with other things, me and my wife were talking, you have to have been there in order to appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Some things I do agree.
Like the original Nintendo. When they rebooted that and everybody's like, oh my God, I'm going to go out and get one and blah, blah, blah. Other people, you know, when they bought one for their kids, they don't want to play that. It's disgusting. Get it out of my face. You know what I'm saying? You had to have been there for it to be special. I was playing the original Assassin's Creed the other day, and my wife was making remarks about the graphics, and I'm like, it's a great story, okay?
Exactly.
Like, I love going back to my oldies, even with Perfect Dark or 007, you know, stuff like that.
Well, that's just like with Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy
Right.
8. It was so good. Were the graphics good for the time it was out? Yes, it was. Now, of course not. We have so much new technology, but at the same time, like certain things, you are correct. Certain things are timeless. They're
Right.
classic. It's again going back to music. Some songs there's like this band called Born of Osiris. They re-released their first album with new production quality, and a lot of people were upset because the old quality gave it that raw edge.
Yep.
You know, it sounded too perfect. Like, you know, you could hear the clacking of the sticks in the original ones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where in this one, the guy's been playing the same song for 10 years, so he can,
Yeah.
like, and he can play it perfect now. So when you know, sometimes when you re-record it, or the original Ninja Turtles,
Right.
you know, I love the original Ninja Turtles.
I was gonna bring that up too. I love the Ninja Turtles.
It did, and when they remade it, I went in there with an open mind. I did.
Actually, I wasn't that mad. Not gonna
No,
lie.
I really wasn't. I was just like,
I wasn't mad with the 3D one, 3D animate, not the live action. The live action.
I actually wasn't
I wasn't
upset
in
with
love
the.
with that one.
I wasn't upset with the live action because the things that they did. It sucks when different companies acquire the rights, and that's one thing we gotta understand. Like, for example, Fantastic Four. Fox has it. So Fox, they just kept putting out reboot after reboot because they wanted to keep the rights so Marvel wouldn't get it back.
Right.
They didn't care if the movie was good. You know, where if a company such as Marvel, now that they got their property back, they're like, they already said they're gonna wait at least 5 or 6 years before they put out one, just so it can be a quality movie. Some of these companies don't care, you know, and I think when it comes down to that, then yes, those adults should let it go because some of them, like for me, I would love if we had a huge company and had money to buy it. I
Right.
would love to buy Legend of the Dragon. It's a game that Sony made. They never made it into a movie or show or comic. It's on par with Final Fantasy. I'd go as far to say that. And I would love
I gotta
to
check this out.
Yeah, it's good.
If it's on par with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's a good RPG. It had a very good story. You know, it was incredibly hard to beat.
Yeah.
You know, well, now I could probably beat it with no problem. At the
Yeah.
time, you know.
I do find that like once I go back to old video games, I'm like, how did I have such a hard? Except Ninja Gaiden. You ever play Ninja Gaiden?
I never played it, but I do know what game you're talking about.
Man, growing up, that game was one of the hardest games to play ever.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing.
But my whole thing is, why can't people do that like we do it? Like, just go back to the old stuff.
We
don't need a reboot.
Well, they do, but sometimes it's nice to, for example, if they're remaking Final Fantasy VII. Now,
I hope
no.
that's not a big letdown, though.
No, they're making it specific. They're making it exactly how the original Final Fantasy VII
Gameplay
was.
and all.
Gameplay and all.
Good.
The only difference is it has the updated graphics. They had to make it from scratch because
Right.
the graphics back then were terrible.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what they're doing. You know,
I mean, not that they even needed to, though.
they did it, but also for the people, because it was such a timeless classic and they want more people to get into it. What 10-year-old you know today is going to go back and play the original Final Fantasy VII?
It sucks because they don't even make many RPGs like that anymore.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
even the new Final Fantasies aren't specifically RPGs. They're like RPG hack and slash.
Right. Everything's hack and slash now. And I'm like, give me something else to build upon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to strategically be like, okay, this one casts fire on that because he's weak, you know, to fire. And this one, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
also at the same time, you had to think in those games. And no offense to
Yeah.
people out there, but people
nobody
don't
wants
like
to think anymore. And that's our gripe with music is no one likes to think anymore. Like, I know Cruz ain't here, but for him to say some of the stuff that he says about Lupe Fiasco, real
That's
disrespectful.
another topic. Though.
But
back to the.
they're making a Lion King reboot.
But it's not a reboot. It's the same thing as.
I mean, live action.
Yeah.
They don't need that. When have they ever needed that? Lion King sells to this day.
But at the same time, if you go back and watch the original Lion King,
Right.
you see the plot holes in it.
What plot hole?
There's tons of plot holes
What
in
plot-
it. You gotta go rewatch it.
What plot hole?
There's a lot of plot
Let's take
holes.
this outside.
Don't get me wrong. I love Lion King, but there are plot holes.
There are no
in it.
plot holes.
Yes, there is.
There are
It's
no-
too short of a movie. It doesn't even.
What you mean?
It is. You know,
How's
it's the
it too
same-
short of a
It's the
movie?
same thing with Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast filled in certain things
Right.
that were left out in the actual
See,
cartoon.
if they do it like that, I'm not that mad. But still, yet and still, I say they don't need a live action version. Like, I don't
But that's because people want it. They're making a live action Mulan. I'm stoked to see that.
Why?
Because Mulan was one of my favorite Disney movies.
I know, and it's fine the way that it is.
But the thing is, people love seeing their hero. They like when you can't always relate to a cartoon.
No, what it is creators, writers, everyone's getting lazy. They can't create their own content anymore. And it shows. It's
No,
showing because everybody wants to redo what's already been done.
To a certain extent, yes, there are certain companies
It's so
that want to
lazy.
do that.
So lazy.
Like Disney, yes, they are doing that because they want to. They know it's going to sell, obviously. But at the same time, you can't tell me when they put Black Panther on the screen, every black person was up in arms to go see it because they're like,
Except me.
except you. Only because when people who loved Black Panther, who grew up with Black Panther, to finally see a person portraying this character, not only just portray it, but portray it accurately, you know, it's awesome. It's an amazing feeling. You can relate to it because even if you see what you call it, if you see the actor walking down the street, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name right now, you know, if you see him walking down the street, be like, yo, you were Black Panther. You know, it's the truth. It's that you can resonate with that. You know,
I feel like, what you mean?
no, but it's the same thing with kids, and that's why I say it should be for everyone. Because a child growing up, they're just like, man, especially in the superhero world, they're just like, oh man, you know, for example, Mulan. How many Asian superheroes do you really have over here for an Asian child born here? Not in Japan, not in China.
Mulan was born in China as well.
But there's still not enough here to relate to. At least there on screen, this Japanese or Chinese or Korean, whoever actor they can play, they're just like, yo, I can relate to her. I can relate from coming from Korea to America, being outcasted, but still fighting to become the hero of China. They can relate to that because they're like, yeah, it's not the exact same struggle, but I overcame.
Are they putting the real story on screen?
Well, shoot. Initially, they were gonna change it.
That's what I want to know.
No, now
they're gonna ruin like everyone's childhood.
Well, now they're doing it how the movie was, but initially they had changed it a lot. You know,
They don't listen. They
you gotta
need to
remember-
get some fresh idea. Get in
Well,
the
you gotta
lab
remember, Mulan.
and write, dude.
Mulan is an ancient Chinese story. Sony is doing their own version of Mulan.
You know how many people, like, you can take indie movies. You can watch a whole bunch of them. You know how many people have done this, watched indie movies and just made the indie movie better?
Yeah, but they have to pay that indie movie, and they have to
A lot
give
of them don't even know.
until they do and get sued. That's why they stop. Just for example, like I just found this out.
So you mean to tell me that DC can sue over Black Cat?
It's not. No, because it's not the same character.
It's the same character.
And
The same fighting moves and everything.
in the court of law, it's not the same because it's different names, different backstory, different
Black Cat, Catwoman, same.
still different name though.
Oh my god.
Because you can't tell someone they can't use the word cat. It's a generalized term.
Lawyered. That's what I was thinking the whole time when you were explaining that. Dang it.
No, but one example that works is Captain Marvel. You know, Captain Marvel from DC changed the character to Shazam because of that. You know, and initially, but before Captain Marvel became DC, that the publication that originally created him.
So they can copy all aspects of that hero as long as the name is different and it looks different.
Deadpool.
So what about?
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying about these indie movies. All you gotta do is change a couple variables.
No, but some people do word for word.
Nah, yeah.
They take the movie.
But just take the idea. But you know,
No,
I'm not advocating
Yeah.
for plagiarism. But my whole thing is they're getting lazy with all these reboots.
And the thing is, when it comes down to certain things, the idea has to be extreme. Like Get Out was an original movie. If someone was to take that idea and try to twist it, they probably could get sued because that's an original idea. If someone tried, like Sony, Disney, Warner Brothers, they can all make a Mulan movie because it's based off an ancient Chinese story.
But like all writers have to do is start reading books. And you know, contact the people who wrote the. I mean,
But
they
a lot of those
they did that
movies
with the
don't-
Hunger Games. They, you know,
But only a few of them do well. You know, like Harry Potter
Well-
did well because she had the money behind it. Twilight did well; they had the money behind it. You know, a lot of these studios, because it's usually Warner Brothers connected with several small studios. Unless Warner Brothers,
Universal.
yeah, it would have to be one of the big studios who wants to turn this book into a movie. If one of the small ones want to do it, please, they ain't getting that. They don't have, or it would have to be someone who has major money behind, like Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry creates all his own original works based off of his own life, and
Right.
they do incredibly well.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, he should have stuck to plays though. He could have went to Broadway, been big.
I think he did get big though.
I mean, he got big, and financially, I feel like the brother don't gotta work no more.
You don't.
But at the same time, I feel like if say he didn't go the big picture movies route and went the Broadway route instead, man, the dude still would be doing great. He'd have to work all the time to still be Medea.
Well, but he still has the plays though.
Right.
His plays are still going. So he's still in both worlds. He's still in media. It's just, he's not at the plays anymore. You know, he has to run Tyler Perry Studios, which, congrats to you, Tyler Perry.
Congrats.
But back to our original topic, because we kind of got off track. For me, the reason I said all this long-winded stuff is because I believe, when it comes down to comics, TV shows, kids cartoons, specifically kids cartoons, comics, and anime, I believe it's for everyone, just depending on how it's done. To be honest, a trash show is a trash show regardless, no matter how many times you make it, because if you don't have good script writers and everything, it's going to be trash. But one thing I can say is kids have to learn about the world, and if they're going to learn about it from a TV show, at least, even though they should be learning it from their parents, let's take Steven Universe for an example. That show touches on such real life deep topics, but it does it in a way that is still very kid friendly. It still can be touched on, it can be shown on any channel, and kids will still go out and watch it and buy the products, and they understand. They're like, yo, this is wrong. Like what this character did is wrong. I shouldn't be doing something like that. But
I mean, but that takes a certain individual to realize that. Like, my daughter's at an age where she imitates like everything that she sees on TV, and I'm so happy that we have her watching shows like Super Wings or like Doc McStuffins, Dora the Explorer, stuff that's good to imitate. But there are some other shows where we've put on. I'm not gonna discredit them or whatever, but she'll imitate more of the bad guys, and I'm like, whoa! I'm like, what, don't go bullying other kids, and I have to teach that lesson as well. But shows like I watch Bob's Burgers, right?
Yeah.
Bob's Burgers is a complete like remake of King of the Hill. Not remake, but it's like almost like that. But my whole thing is, very appealing to kids because
The animation.
The
yeah.
animation, the cartoons, it looks like it should be for a kid. Why shouldn't you be able to watch it?
You know, but in all reality, well, Bob's Burgers really isn't that bad.
It isn't, but sometimes they talk about penis. But,
yeah. There's certain things
Yeah.
about, but at the same time too, and this is where, I'm not telling anybody how to raise their children. Let me first say that I will never tell people how to raise their kids, but I do have to say this.
I will.
It's also, I would rather a child learn a specific thing at home than learn it at school.
Right.
So if they learn a particular topic at home from a show, I'd rather me catch it at home. But again, that would be my due diligence as a parent.
Kids teach other kids.
Exactly. So I'd rather them develop it at home where I can say, no, this is only done in this particular situation, and teach them and show them. And I know some of y'all are going to be like, man, you're trying to control kids. And it's like, yes, I am. Because when I do have children, because I don't have any, because you probably see them running around right now.
Yeah.
I'm not having my kid go to school and punching somebody in his face just because he saw it on a tape of the X-Men. Because he wanted, or she wanted to imitate Wolverine, because Wolverine is such a, cocky person.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, it's easier to say
and
when you don't, because I have a daughter, and I teach her how to wrestle, I teach her how to fight, you know what I'm saying? I'm not against that, because she's small, she's petite.
Yeah.
If anybody's trying to get their hands on her, I want her to fight for dear life. Bite if you have to. Whatever you have to do, get away from that person, because what are you doing near my kid? You know what I'm saying? I feel like more parents should stop teaching their kids to be punks, but to be like responsible about it. And eventually, my daughter will learn, martial arts and stuff like that, and the discipline behind it. Because I love that, the instructors discipline them. We do not fight people. This is only self-defense.
Exactly, and you only do with the minimal amount of force needed to get out of the situation.
Right, but as far as watching what your kids, monitoring what your kids watch, my mother did a great job. Actually, sometimes she didn't. Sorry, moms. Because I used to watch, WWF back in the day.
Yeah,
and
so did I.
They used to have bra and panties matches and all this stuff that kids shouldn't see. That sometimes when mom would watch it and be like, what? Or like, like I was telling you earlier, I'm flipping through the channels and The Simpsons are on, and I'm a little kid, and it's a cartoon. So I'm like, yes, finally cartoons at night. I don't have to go fishing around for it anymore. And my mom comes through the door. She's like, what are you watching? And I was like, I'm watching cartoons, Mom. No, you can't play this in the house. And she's just going off on me. And I'm like, it's just cartoons. And she's like, not this one, because it's, too adult. And, had to really explain that to me. But, us as kids, like you said, we wouldn't know unless the adult says. But I would hate to reenact something that I seen on The Simpsons that was too adult for me to reenact at the school,
Which is very, very true, and that's why I say the whole monitoring aspect comes in. And that's also why I say it should be generalized. Like, I do think initially, channels were doing the right thing. For example, Adult Swim. Adult Swim had the anime and the stuff like that after midnight. Right. That way, because I would watch Yu Yu Hakusho after midnight. And Yu Yu Hakusho, they don't really curse, but they do have some types of swears.
Right.
And
Inuyasha as well.
Yeah, Inuyasha, and it's about demons and killing each other and stuff like that. Come on, as a child, you're just like...
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I was up late watching that.
Yeah, and the thing is, but also, too, I ain't gonna lie, and this brings it to the anime. And I think you have to be more careful with anime than you have to with American cartoons.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen, there was this one anime, it's called Goblin Slayer. And it has the warning right on the front. It's like, this may be inappropriate for children under the age of 18.
I wish all of them would
Yeah.
do that, because there's some like Soul Eater, for instance, where you just got chest popping out all the
Yeah.
time, and I'm just like,
But that's normal in their society for children to watch.
right.
And that's the thing, because when you bring it over here, it's not like this Goblin Slayer, which I just mentioned. You know, they give you that title because it's even bad for over there. And I'm watching it, and it seems like your regular
Yeah.
adventure anime. You know, something like Adventure Time, just a little more serious. And I'm
Or
just like,
Food Wars. Food Wars be going in.
yo, Food
I
Wars is
love-
my show, though.
It's such a good show, because like I don't know, the way that they describe like the seasoning process,
Yeah, and the way
everything.
you can tell real. They
it's
really
like
do their
scientific
research.
a little bit, yeah.
You know, it's good. They know what they're doing, but at the same time, your 5-year-old should not be watching
Nah,
this show.
yeah, because the way they react when they eat in the food, I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, dang, give me some.
You know, but the story is on point. The way they make the food, the way they describe it, you're
Right.
like, yo, they really must go talk to chefs. They must do research on recipe,
Right.
and everything. You know, it's really well developed and planned out, and that's why the show is doing so well. But they should not be airing it. Like, I will agree with you. For example, Family Guy should not be aired at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on daytime TV.
No, absolutely
You know.
not.
But because in this day and age that has become so normalized, like I said, I was watching a movie the other day and they curse throughout the whole movie. Daytime
Oh, what
TV,
TV?
daytime
Channel?
TV, all channels now. They're allowed to swear up to a certain amount of times in a movie before they bleep it out now. The only word they can't say is the F word, but every other word they can say.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they go ham with it too. Like,
Exactly.
it's just like, I get it, you could say it, but like, I don't know, some people just be saying it every other line, and I'd be like, dude, like, you haven't said nothing yet, because you're focusing on how much you can curse.
And that's what happens with like the first season of a TV show, because they're getting it all out, and then they're just like, well, all right, I guess let me focus on the story now, and
Right.
then it becomes good because they're just like, all right, you know, I can say it, but it's not a big deal. It's like the kid that turns 21 because he's like, oh, you can't drink alcohol until you're 21, and then he overindulges to get alcohol poisoning.
Right.
You know, because they're just told, they're like, now I can do it. Yes.
But at the same time, since those people don't focus on being creative and they focus on just trash content, they kind of put themselves in a category like Robot Chicken, for instance.
Yeah.
Robot Chicken was super hot when it first came out, and then it just kept relying on like toilet jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And that's the big thing, and that goes back to what your kids should be watching. Your kids should not be watching Robot Chicken. Your kids should not be watching
Right.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which is a show that I
It's
like.
so funny. Yeah.
You know, but at the time, you know, or South Park. I remember when my mom, I would always say, Mom, can I watch my show? It goes off at 10:30. And I would watch South Park. And one day she caught me cracking up and she pokes her head in, and
Word.
she's like, you ain't watching this show no more.
South Park was my show, though.
Yeah. You know, now when I look at it, I was just like, because there's some forms of comedy or just shows in general, I'm just
Right.
like, this is just too much.
But just like I was trying to prove, like, because we can't give animation up for the kids, you know, they're subject to content that they shouldn't be watching sometimes.
But the thing is, the bad thing about it is, though, but what if you're really good at graphic design? Like, you can create stuff like, you know, Attack on Titan. You can draw
Right.
in deep, or you know, characters from DC and Marvel. You know, that's where your talent lies.
and you
But-
want it to be appreciated by
yeah,
more.
for that, you know, or your comics and stuff. But you're resulting, nothing wrong with it, but you have to draw cartoon characters like Fat Albert and stuff like that. Which Fat Albert is a great TV show because it does teach kids morals and things
Right.
like that. But I'm saying when you have a particular vision, like if I was
Well,
to be-
here's the thing, though. The Ninja Turtles were able to do it in a way that wasn't too much for kids.
but the thing is, with that, the creators didn't like the original Ninja Turtles.
I don't care.
You know, but the thing is, you care as the creator.
Right.
So if someone takes your product, like if someone takes our podcast and tells us, all right, we're going to pick up your podcast series and we're going to air it on Cartoon Network every day at 5 p.m. Cool, but you got to change this. You can no longer wear that. You can't say this, da 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 da. You're going to be like, yo, so what can I do on my podcast?
It depends on how much they're paying.
But sometimes it's not about the money. It's about being happy.
True.
You know, because the guys from Ninja Turtles, they were already making money when they were writing the comic. But, you know, when they were getting picked up, they were told they had to change certain things. And after a while, they were like, yo, this is not what we created. And then when they got that freedom back because the comic sales were dropping,
Right.
you know, then they were just like, all right, they compromised. They're like, all right, don't give them all the same color masks. Give them different weapons and masks so that way we can tell them apart.
Right.
But you can still do what you want to do with it. Okay, cool. You know, obviously there's a longer story to that, but I had to summarize it because we're running out of time anyway. You know, but overall, my opinion is, you know, it should be for everyone, but parents or adults in general. You should know and let the general public know when your media is adult favored or child favored. If it's child favored, everybody can watch it. Yo, I watch what's it called? The World of Gumball. I love that show.
I happen to think that it's not for young kids. I feel like certain things are for certain age groups.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not everything's for all kids.
No.
And sometimes we lump them all together as if it is.
Like Gumball is a mix. It's a mix for kids and adults because, for example, they use a lot of anime references, which I know a lot of the kids understand because there was one thing where he went Super Saiyan, and I was just like, yes, Dragon Ball Z. You know?
With the trolls, they started doing hairdookins. Like they would take some of their hair.
Exactly, like the references we would understand because they make it for the kids, but they're like, we know the adults have to watch this with their kids.
True.
So,
I guess I feel it on that note, but when it goes to Looney Tunes levels, where Looney Tunes was like putting, you know, sex jokes and all that other stuff.
Well, some of it was hidden very well. Like, I mean, I didn't understand it until I
seen it as soon as I started watching again. I'm like, what?
No, that's what I mean. When I was watching Looney Tunes, like when I hit like my 20s, I was just like, yo. But even when I was like 15, 16 watching it, I was cracking up and I'm just like, yo, this is funny. And then when I started learning, because I learned lingo that my pops used to say or my moms used to say, and then when I understand it, I'm just like, oh, well, damn.
So how do you feel personally about live animation films?
It's fine as long as it's done correctly. It's done, like, I understand you have to make a profit. The business has to make a profit. So, for example, you know, the Venom movie. I enjoyed Venom, even though Spider-Man wasn't in it. I thought it was a good concept, but I would have enjoyed it more, as you were saying, if it was its own film, not like if it was its own original character with that storyline. I would have said, yo, this is an awesome movie. But because I know he was tied to Spider-Man and the way he got his powers had nothing to do with Spider-Man, I was just like, what is this?
Right.
You know, so if it's done correctly, I have no problem. Like I said, Legend of the Dragon, I would put all my effort into making exactly like the source material, but also making it in a way that does appeal to the broader audience. Because I don't want to make it so that only, you know, the hardcore fans go and watch it. I'm not gonna make anything off of it. You know, but for live action, like I said, I'm excited to see Mulan. I'm excited to see Lion King. Don't get me wrong. Certain ones, I do agree with you, shouldn't be made. You know, like Hercules, if they did a live action Hercules, I'm like, there's enough Hercules movies. No.
And we don't need the Avatar to come back on Netflix.
We really don't. The thing is, I think what I believe the reason why they're doing it is because the movie puts such a bad taste in their mouth. They're just like, we want to show you we can do it right. You know.
Just get the writers, like...
No, the original writers are helping
Oh,
with
good,
this.
good.
No, it's not like the last time. The original
Yes.
writers are
Because
involved.
I was about to fall out of the chair.
Yeah, that's the one reason.
Because I
they're
got
doing
the
it.
original DVDs still at home.
And it was such a good and right there, Avatar: The Last Airbender is the perfect mix of being for children and adults. You know?
Ooh, I want to talk fantasy booking next time we got time.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Avatar story, and you guys can put it in the comments, like
Yeah,
what
definitely.
Avatar story would you love to have, seen and
Yeah, But overall, that's our take on, media, cartoons, anime, comics when it deals with children and adults. I don't believe that adults should let go of media. I do believe adults should let go of the nostalgia factor to an
Right.
extent because, yes, you do want it to be that certain way, but if you really go back with an unbiased opinion, like I said, Voltron, I'm just like, yo, it better be just as good as the original Voltron. And when I watched the original Voltron, I'm like, yo, this show is terrible.
Well, let's end on a light note. Like, what is one remake that you were just like, this was great?
You know what? I would have to say Spider-Man. The newest Spider-Man remake with Tom Holland. I thought that was good. He was able to play. He wasn't like Tobey Maguire, who was good at Peter Parker but not Spider-Man. Or Garfield, who was good at Spider-Man but not Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Which is way too emotional. He was able to incorporate both. He was a teenager like he was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking for a father figure, which he found in Iron Man. He was trying to be the hero that he needed to be, but he was also struggling with teenage issues. Come on, what 16-year-old kid that's going to get it right the
Right.
first time? And they showed that. And I thought that was cool.
My pick is the first set of Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
You remember?
Yeah, the originals, part 1 and part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't like part 3.
I loved part 3 when they went back in time
Yeah, I
into
was just
Japan.
like, nah.
And my wife made fun of it as I'm watching it. I'm like, get out!
Yeah, nah, man. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't, my favorite. Obviously, my favorite was number 2.
I loved them all.
Yeah.
And that's another film where you had to have been there for it to be special.
Exactly.
I don't know many people who can watch it today and think, this is amazing. You're
But
probably not going to. But if you were there, it's
Yeah, because, again, it was like, oh my gosh, the Ninja Turtles are on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
But,
And I love their costumes. I feel like that should come back too, because there's plenty of great makeup artists who aren't getting any work nowadays because everything's CGI.
Well, that's the thing when it comes down to certain things. For example, I'll use Iron Man. It's a mix. It's they had to actually build him a suit,
That's awesome.
because he had to be in it. It was functional and everything, and the CGI just enhanced it.
I know he probably loved that.
I saw like the behind the scenes thing, and I was like, oh snap, he was actually in
Right.
a suit.
Like if I'm I don't know if Christian Bale takes himself too serious, but if I'm him inside the Batman suit, I'm just,
And he actually had to be in the suit.
So, are we gonna do a top 5 this time?
Nah, we
Since
need
it's
Cruz
just
for
us
that.
3? Yeah. I miss my man Cruz.
He will be back as soon as he can, but until then, just watch out for us. We're going to do that, what is it, top 10 greatest of all time hip-hop rappers. We're going to finish that up
Part
as
3.
as soon as possible. Yes, part 3. So keep a lookout for that. And on that note, we're going to end it. Don't forget, check us out, All for One TV. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell so you can get the notifications whenever we upload. And we are going to be posting every Friday?
Yes.
Every Friday, without fail. As of now, every 2 weeks. So you guys, stay tuned.
And share with all your friends.
Yes, please do that. Please say that.